The brief overview of the show is you have these two couples. It takes place in 1995, and one couple participated in Freedom Summer 1968. And ultimately, we find out the long-term impact of them participating in this movement in 68.
It's an important story that kind of digs a little deeper into the side of the civil rights movement that we don't talk about. The psychological, the physiological toll that it took on students and everyday people with bright futures who really were doing what was right, what they thought was right. They were, they weren't rioting in the streets. They were peacefully they were, exercising nonviolent protests. I know just for my review, I had to do a great deal of research on the history and the background, which really opened my eyes to so much I didn't know. So what kind of research did you all do in preparing to do this production that you kind of brought into it? I know there's musical elements, there's so much here.
So honestly, for me, because I enjoy Black history, African American history, that's kind of my thing. So it wasn't necessarily a whole lot of research. It was those fine details that she wove into the play. That let me make sure this is what. So there's a reference where Tyrone says to Charlie about, you weren't down there whistling at those white women or something of that nature. It's a direct reference to Emmett Till in his story. So it was that type of thing that we had to kind of really look into. There is a documentary about Freedom Summer that I had watched the minute I had read the script. I was just like, let me, so that was one of the research tools. And what was great about that is that you have some of the actual people who participated talking about the experience.
In watching that documentary or in researching even the playwright herself, was there anything that surprised you about?
From my perspective, no. From my perspective, no. And I would probably say for the cast, no. Because this is the thing about the show is that it's not true, but we know it's true. Those of us who live our everyday lives as African Americans who know our history, we know this is true. And we know that she has woven in very key facts. And so one of the things that I gave all of the actors, I gave them, for inspiration, certain photos and etc. Reese Taylor was one of the photos that I had given to them, who she just died a couple of years ago, but she was an African American woman that at the age of 25 was raped by multiple white men as she was coming home from church. And Oprah Winfrey actually mentioned her in one of her speeches, one of her award speeches. And so it was just like, just to kind of bring this home, and she just died a few years ago. So this is still a present.
Something else I think that really works about the play, and I don't want to give too much away, but at the top of that too, there is an unscripted, very impactful moment between the two men. This is a four-person, four-character play, two men, two women, two couples. And what I found out after the play is that was drawn from some personal experience from Juan, the actor who plays that part. And when I heard that, it was so... it became so much more meaningful to me. So can you talk a little bit about the rehearsal process, and was there a conscious decision during that rehearsal process to bring those individual personal backstories into this, or did that just kind of happen organically as you were going through it?
It was a mixture. So there's music throughout the show. And I read the script, and as I was starting, this was before auditions or anything, I had all the songs I wanted to have in there. And I wanted those songs to tell a story. The piece that you're talking about at the top of Act 2, that was creativity and chemistry, just that organic chemistry. My process was to allow the actors their freedom, their artistic freedom. I did not want to stifle that because I knew this topic was something near and dear to all of us in discussions that we had our read through, and as we worked through the script and dissected the script, where we spent the majority of our time. I had originally had the song that he particularly does. I had a song in there, and he came back and said, "Hey, can I sing?" Say, okay. I was like, "Well, I've already done the blocking, and let's do this." And it was just that chemistry, and I think because this show means so much to all of us, that there was a lot of organic things happening, and we spent so much time going through the script and developing characters that those natural things were happening. So it was a mixture of just giving them that artistic freedom, but tightening certain things up, but also we all have some type of experience. And so as we were digging through the script, stories and stuff came out. You bring up Juan's particular incident that actually happened like about 2 days before opening. So the irony and unfortunate part of it is we had already had it in place. Little did we know how powerful it was truly going to be.
The play takes place in the 90s and references events that happened nearly 30 years earlier. Why is this an important story to tell right now?
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Because things haven't changed but so much. There are things that are still going on that maybe have been cleaned up a little bit to make them look a little bit different. But when you strip them down, they haven't changed. They haven't changed. And I think that's part of the reason why it has impacted people so much, because if you're truly getting it, you realize things aren't much different. And then you understand why there were the Malcolm X's and the Black Panther Party for self-defense. You get it. They weren't just violent people. They were fed up people. And it's like, okay, Martin Luther King, nonviolence. It's not working. So let's try this.
Well, and we're such a divided country, and I think theater makes you think, and theater tells these stories that make you, not forget.
Exactly.
You don't want to forget, and yet the way we curate history, the way we rewrite history, the way we immortalize our heroes because we want to take a snapshot and remember them a certain way. I think this play really just kind of rips the veil off of that and says, wait a minute.
Exactly. But I think what she's done, if you think about Act 1 versus 2, she kind of plays into that nice little neat picture of things before that veil is ripped off. Past weekend, Rosalie Turner, who is a civil rights author and who takes students from A&T down through the track of Mississippi and the civil rights, she was here, and she came to me after her and her husband, and she was just like, yes. And I think that was really profound for someone who does, and she's actually a white American, Caucasian American, who does this. And I have been in touch with her since thereafter, and she says she's still